YouTube, how are we? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be running you through a pull workout layout. So just like I did in the previous video where I took you through how I tend to structure a push workout, I'm going to do exactly the same but for a pull workout. Now, as I said in the previous video, this isn't the only way that I think that you can structure a workout or a pull workout more specifically. There's plenty of other ways that you can do it. However, this is just a very good standard layout, maybe for somebody that's just starting out or just getting into maybe making their own programs and are just looking for kind of a template to follow. I'm going to run you through each type of movement and the order that I'm going to put them in, and then from there you guys are able to specifically put in what exercises you want to do. So drank my pre-workout, I've warmed up and I'm ready to go. Okay, so we are going to start off with a lat pull down. Now, a little bit like previous videos where I've been working out in the studio, this isn't actually a session that I would normally do here. So if you don't already know, I kind of flick my sessions between this studio and then another local gym that I also train at, which is far bigger than this studio. But obviously for the purposes of filming, I'm here today. I can easily create a workout for this place, a pull workout. It works perfectly, but normally it would be a little bit different. So my lat pull down, I would normally do on a lat pull down machine. More specifically, if you're a bit of a machine nerd like myself, it is the Nautilus Nitro lat pull down, which is probably my favorite piece of gym equipment ever. Side fact. But we can easily recreate a lat pull down on a cable machine. So why am I going to this trouble? Why am I saying maybe don't use something like a traditional lat pull down, which will see you be in this position? So if we were to go back in time and rename that piece of equipment, it would actually be a rear delt pull down. The lats actually aren't doing very much on a traditional lat pull down. Your elbows are so kind of far from your side, so they're very abducted, which means that mechanically they're very weak, and it's actually more of a rear delt pull down. When we're doing a lat pull down, we actually want to see that elbow stay nice and close to the sides of the body. Hence, you're going to see me go through this pull down here. That was a very nerdy way of saying we're going to do a lat pull down. So that is what we're going to start with. We're going to get the lats nice and short, and then we'll go into the next exercise. Okay, next up we're going to go into a straight arm pull down. So a couple of things before I go through this exercise. So the first thing I want to touch on is overall volume of a training plan. One thing that I've never touched on when doing these kind of videos is going into great lengths and going into great depths of talking about how many reps and sets I'm doing. This is obviously completely individual, and it's like asking me, you know, should you do this exercise? I don't know. I'd have to be with you, I'd have to train with you, and we'd have to take the plan for a test run. Volume is very much a case of, are you progressing and are you recovering? Most things I start people on with 2 sets of most exercises, and we increase or decrease from there. So volume is a very, very individualized thing, much like most things in fitness. So on to the straight arm pull down. Again, this is something that normally I would do on a machine. So I've got the, but I use in the other gym, the Nautilus Nitro pullover machine. So we're going to transfer that over to the cable machine. A little bit of a fancier setup here just because I'm using my assist your lift bar, which basically just allows me to change the width of my arms based on my structure and not using a one size fits all approach. Very, very simple, straight arm pull down. You can do this not just on machines, so like the North Plus Nitro machine pullover, for example, but obviously, of course, you can transfer it over to a cable machine like this and use a straight bar if you want to, but again, ideally for optimal recruitment of the lats, we want to have elbows as close to the sides as possible, so ideally a palms facing in approach so that you're able to keep those elbows nice and tucked, like you're going to see me do on this pull down just here. Okay, the next part of this workout, we're going to go for a row. Now, this is probably the most in-depth parts of this video because there's sort of two paths that you can go down here, depending on a lot of things that unfortunately you're going to have to work out for yourself. Me, even talking to you, through a computer screen, isn't going to be enough for me to determine or to tell you what path you can go down here. Ultimately, this is going to come down to ability and skill, and then because of that, most likely how long you've been training. We're going to go for a row, and the row that you're going to see me go through is very much going to be from the point of view of taking a weight from A to B, fairly heavy, and there might be a little bit of swinging involved towards the back end of the set. This one probably isn't the greatest of examples because I'm going to do a chest supported dumbbell row, but essentially the pathways that we've got here are something that doesn't offer as much stability versus something that does offer us stability. This non-stability version is something like a dumbbell row, a barbell row probably being the most common example. Something where we've got no chest support, it's literally us trying to hold our own body up, and we're most likely going to be using free weights, which most of the time don't offer us the greatest of profiles, so as we get weaker, that weight is going to get heavier. The other pathway that you've got is something like a machine row or a cable row, where we can add in a chest support, and depending on what the machine is, or depending on the cable setup that we've got, we might be able to make it so that that weight gets lighter as we get weaker. The path that you choose to go down needs to be dependent on your skill and your ability. Are you at a point where you've been training long enough where you can train in an unstable environment, you can still contract the tissues, so the muscles, and you're able to follow a tempo to a certain degree? Or are you fairly new to training and need to keep in a stable environment? Most people watching this video, the chances are it's going to be a case of following some sort of an exercise where the environment is pretty stable, and that's absolutely fine. So you want to be picking out a row that's machine based or cable machine based. If you've been training for a while and you are able to contract tissues, you're able to hold your form up, then maybe something like a barbell row or a dumbbell row is going to be appropriate here, where we're basically looking to move some heavy ass weight and really fatigue ourselves, or fatigue the tissues now that we've taken them through and got them nice and short through those previous exercises. There might also be cases where we need to have quite a bit of volume in our plan, and actually we do both. So you could go through some sort of a stable row, like a machine row, and then go into this kind of row here. So there are multiple options available. And like I say, unfortunately, it's not just a case of me saying, yeah, you need to do this and you need to do that. There's a lot that goes into that. But I can almost guarantee that if you're fairly new to lifting, these kind of movements that I'm about to go through now probably aren't the most appropriate. And you're probably going to want to use something that puts you in a stable environment like a machine row or a cable machine row. But I'm going to get on with 2 sets of chest supported dumbbell rows. We're going to run through some rear delt stuff now. I'm going to go through 2 rear delt exercises. One that's more of a row and one that's more of like essentially a pull down. Really this is just because of the amount of volume that I need for my rear delts. You might personally get away with maybe 1 exercise that you do for 2 to 3 sets. With these 2 exercises that I'm going to go through 4 sets. So 2 on each exercise. Ultimately, like I say, they are both in there just because it is just a case of how I split the volume. But it will be good for you to see them both, and then you can give them a spin and see which ones you like. So the first one's going to be the row. It's going to be a chest supported dual cable row. The reason that I like this, first and foremost, is because the cable's getting closer to my shoulder as I pull through the row. The weight's actually going to drop off and it's going to start to feel lighter, which is great because when we get back here, we're going to be weaker. The other reason that I like it is because it's a row that allows me to not have to fully abduct my elbow. So a lot of the time we'll see rear delt exercises like, for example, the rope face pull, or like a cable fly, like a reverse cable fly. The reason that these exercises aren't so great necessarily or quite as optimal is because if you're going through that exercise, your elbow is going to have to be fully abducted. So it's going to be all the way out here around about 90 degrees. If I try to pull back here, I can't get my elbow as far back as if it's down here, where I can pull back slightly more. So around about 45 degrees is what's comfortable for me, and also allows me to get those rear delts nice and short. So that's the reason that I like this. It does allow me to drop my elbows down ever so slightly to around about 45 degrees, and we can further shorten that rear delt a little bit more. So it's a good one to try. I don't know if you can see that. You probably can see that from there. If your bench doesn't look like that midway through the workout and you've had your forehead against it, then you're not doing something right. Okay? So we're going to do another red out exercise. This time we're going to go for more of a pull down. So this is literally a recreation of a traditional lat pull down that you see in the gym, where you've got palms down and elbows are coming further out to the side. You could actually just use one of those for this movement if you've not got a setup as bizarre as this. Like I say, that's more of a red out exercise. So we're going to crack on with that. We're going to do 2 sets on this one. Two bicep exercises to finish, then we're not done. So again, volume here just depends on how much you personally need to grow and also recover. So for today's session, I'll train arms multiple times a week. So for today's session, we've actually already got 3 sets. We've got 2 on here and then 1 on the drag curls that I'll go through in a second. These 2 exercises place focus in different areas. So with this cable preacher curl that I'm going to go through, we're putting a bit more focus on that shortened position, so when I'm just here, I'm going to emphasise that by holding it in this position for 2 seconds at the top on each one. Then when we go into the drag curls, because our arms are behind us, we're in a position of shoulder extension, we're actually going to end up with more of a focus back here. The weight's going to slightly drop off as we get to this point here, so I'm going to use it to train that lengthened area. Not bad. Both areas are obviously going to get trained, it's the same muscle, just we're placing a bit more focus here than here. So we'll flip it on its head, and when we go into the drag curls, I'm going to hold it back here for a couple of seconds. So we're going to do 12 reps each side for 2 sets here first. Okay, last exercise of the day. Like I said, we're going to go through the drag curl. So we've taken a lot of tension through that shortened range. We're now going to just finish the session off, put as much through that lengthened range of the biceps as we can. So I'm going to hold it in that extended shoulder position for a couple of seconds in every single rep. Okay, so that is the full pull-up session done. What I'm going to do is link down below the blog post that accompanies this video, which basically goes through everything that I mentioned in this video, but obviously in more of a written format. So if you need to look back over it quickly and just kind of see a breakdown of it in written form, then that is there in the link down below. As always, if you enjoyed this, please give it a like, and if you're not already subscribed, please do. We are closing in on the end of this year, so the end of 2021. This is generally sort of a time where people start to think about the new year and changing their physique for the new year, essentially. But I would urge people that if you've got that inkling, start now. It's, you know, Christmas is like 3 months away. A lot can happen in 12 weeks. So as always, my coaching details are in the box down below. So if you need any advice or you want to start up some coaching, you know where to go. And I'll see you all in the next one.